Hi. So I just had an amazing time washing my clothing. I'm in the suburbs now, so I want to just tell you a quick story about happiness and travel, and why travel can be an immediate short-term boost to your psychological makeup or just your happiness levels. I haven't been in the suburbs in a long time. I'm staying here in this apartment for about a week. For me, that's a really long time because I've been switching back and forth between different hotels in order to get different points and, maximize my loyalty benefits. And, usually a hotel room is only about 20 meters. Well, this apartment is about 200 meters. So just simply going from 20 to 200, even though the amenities are reduced, it's just an immediate boost in terms of psychological. You think you're getting a lot more, even though it's not owned by you. And you have to be a little careful, though, too, when you're traveling and when you're changing things up. But the point is that in many cases, the things that make you happy because either you're used to it or you haven't had it for a long time. And even here, I ordered online. It's getting so convenient everywhere in the world just to order groceries and order food. And the thing about the suburbs is that there's just, it almost forces you into consumerism. Simply because, whether necessary or unnecessary, because there's nothing, you can't walk anywhere in a suburb. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter where you are. And so if you're in the city, you walk everywhere. That's why all the airports, you usually when you travel, you're thinking, oh, where am I going? I'm going to the city because I can walk to places. And, when you order things online, I just order the cheapest liquid detergent I could find. And it's just a huge bag. And, I'm just loving it, just because I'm thinking about, micro clean tech. I mean, the whole thing is just delightful to me. Something that would not be the case if I were living in a suburb for a long time. But it's also kind of nice because the products that you buy are more carefully selected. So I love cinnamon, and check this out. You can buy these little packs of cinnamon. There used to be about 10 of them, and there were maybe 6. And, you also get to learn the language in a different country. So cinnamon in Malay means, it's actually translated as kayu manis. Now, what they don't tell you, if you don't know what the words actually mean, it actually translates directly to sweet wood. Isn't that cool? Cinnamon is a sweet stick of wood. It looks like wood, right? So it's just interesting how you can also pick up language. And the great thing about Malaysia is that it's starting to get a lot of Australian products. So I'm actually a little bit worried that the best thing about Malaysia is going to be the food from Australia, whether it's Brown's yogurt or something else. But it's just unbelievable, how just that shift in space can just give an immediate short-term boost in happiness. I haven't been this happy in at least a couple of weeks, simply because even though I've had more amenities, simply because, I just, I've been doing also a bit of a routine, and I've been saving things up. So I've been saving soap. Again, you wouldn't think soap would make you happy, but if you go from a hotel to an apartment and you've been saving up some soap that you've bought for a while, it does make you happy that you get to use it. And also all the different products. We talked about grocery stores. Products, you can't find elsewhere. So suddenly I've been saving up this, instant coffee from Vietnam. Again, ASEAN is finally working. You're getting products from all over, all the different places as well. Although, again, they might be owned by the same company. Even if you don't believe me, it's not just the media. Check out who owns the coffee shops. If you go out for a coffee shop, almost all of them are owned by the same 6 or 7 companies, except for a few of them. And you're really just dealing with different variations because the consumer marketers, have figured out the same thing, that we want either a distraction or it helps. It helps to have a distraction or something that's changing in order to feel a short-term boost in happiness. So when you buy something, I'm a coffee snob. And this is instant coffee, but I've been looking forward to it for a long time. And just because you don't know what you're gonna get, right? Is it gonna be the best instant? Maybe this will be the instant coffee that I haven't had for a long time, and this is gonna make me fall in love with the instant coffee. No, but it's fun. It's okay. And you get to see all these different products, and like this one. This one is delicious. I've just made myself a cup of tea as well, or a cuppa, as the British would say. And so you have to put all these things together when you travel. I was also, for the first time, I saw Frosted Flakes. Now, this is interesting, right? I haven't had this in decades. Is it good? God, no, it's only good for kids. The taste is so weird when you become an adult because you're not used to so much sugar. But check it out. It's actually over here. Frosted Flakes is halal in Malaysia. So who knows? Will the halal version of Frosted Flakes be better than the non-halal version? Which is, if you don't know what that means, it's essentially a branding that's supposed to indicate higher regulatory quality, but it's now, like I said, the marketers will ruin everything. So it's just now it's probably quite ordinary because it's been taken from something that used to apply only to meat and the way that meat was prepared. And meat, of course, you don't prepare it well, don't store it well, will cause food poisoning, whether it's swine flu or mad cow disease and all that. And so having that kind of a label, whether it's kosher or halal, would indicated a higher quality. And now it's just been, the meaning has just been sort of just diluted completely. But again, I talked about Australia. When you travel, the most fun place to go to is actually probably a grocery store. Look at this. This is from Australia. Sparkling honey drink. I've never seen this before. It looks nice. Friend gave me this. It's lemonade from Iran. It is delicious. It's really interesting how a lot of these countries with sanctions make the best drinks. The best Coca-Cola, best cola is actually from Cuba. They make it with actual sugar. And this lemonade is delicious. But again, most of these products are going to be from Australia. Like this one over here. I haven't had, Susu protein. This means protein milk. Again, just interesting advertising. It's organic. It's not too bad. If you buy the milk in a box, it's actually fairly affordable. I've bought chocolate milk. I haven't had chocolate milk in a long time. So when you're thinking about traveling, you also want to maybe you don't want to travel across the world and upend your entire lifestyle. Maybe, but just think, if you're in a rut, if you want to change, you must understand that you want to change your surroundings as well. Whether it's just going to a different hotel or just doing something completely different than what you're used to. And the reason for that is, again, it's deeply psychological, to the extent that, there is a bit of sort of psychological trickery or a default mechanism that says, wow, this is different from what I've seen before, what I've done before. And that activates my curiosity. And that, at least until you figure it out, right? Or you adapt. And, it's the same thing as any sort of drug, right? That affects you psychologically, whether it's caffeine or something else, right? Or something that's prescribed. You have to up the dosage in order to get the same effect. You don't have to if you change your surroundings on a regular basis. So if you're in a very hot place and you're in a rut, maybe go to someplace really cold. If you're, just do something different, and you have to do it for more than a couple of days. See, the problem is people will only have a couple of days or go somewhere and they won't get that, long-term sort of fix. So you really do have to go for about a week, and between 1 and 2 weeks. And if you go to the beach, if you go to a resort, none of this really applies. You're not going to get, it's all going to be just like a suburb, right? But just a different ambiance, because it's all going to be set up in a way to make it so convenient that, you're not going to be able to have that exploration mechanism activate and then your curiosity activate. And, you've got to be able to go to a grocery store at least and just check out all the different products. That a trip to the biggest grocery store in the neighborhood is a must. Just because of all the different products that you won't get to see because of licensing restrictions, imports, tariffs. The stuff I can get, I look at American products over here, and they are in Malaysia, and, I know the United States is losing influence because, they are in many cases either stale. Like I bought some potato chips from a very good brand, it was not expired, but it was stale. And that was the only thing from the United States that I saw that was cheap. That was affordable, really, compared to the competition, and it was stale. Usually, the tariffs or whatnot, these trade agreements that we don't get to see really affect every aspect of our lives. And we talk about politics. Well, what does politics mean? A lot of what politics means is, if you get an Airbnb, can they, force you to sign a different contract can they, on top of whatever you've signed, or there's a platform control, how do you deal with all these different things? Is there going to be a tourist police that you can talk to, or an honest police force you can talk to? All of that is politics. When you go to the grocery store, what do you see on the shelves, and can you afford to buy them? And you have to also be careful, because a lot of times the marketing will overwhelm the facts. So you have to, if you really want to see where a product is from, there are now QR scanners you could get on your phone, and you just download them, you scan the barcode, it'll tell you the origin of of where that product is from. And that's also a little bit tricky, because something like coffee, remember the best coffee is Arabica. The word mocha comes from the port of Al Mocha in Yemen, and that's because they traded coffee, right? It doesn't mean they made it. Doesn't mean they invented it. Most likely it's from Africa, is where coffee was made or invented or discovered, and so on and so forth. So again, you have a lot more tools, I think, to help you get that psychological shift. And in my case, it became addictive. I was just doing the same thing every day for quite some time. And, I could sense again that, my country was losing influence, just domestically and overseas. I knew in 2015 that there would be political change. I knew that. And I thought, it's quite odd that everyone in the media doesn't seem to see what I can see. And so let's just get out there and see what's out there. And, like I said, I got addicted to the change of scenery. And now my problem is, I don't own the places I'm going to. It's a bit like, this sort of dystopia, whether it's Ready Player One or all these different movies where, the forces that be, that are the ones issuing the tariffs, that are involved in politics, that are trying to create either resort towns or suburbs where, a lot of what you see is controlled, essentially. Or at least dictated to you, simply because you can't walk somewhere and just have that randomness injected into your life, into your daily life. Oh, by the way, it's also good, right? Because if you're in a suburb, I feel comfortable not shaving. Maybe I'll take a shower. Just took a shower, but it's not something I feel like I have to do, because I'm not. You don't really want to impress anybody in a suburb. Suburbs are where you go just to sort of not do things. And again, it's again a lesson here, is that sometimes a change in environment, if it involves self-agency, if you're doing it yourself, if you're booking it yourself, you're interacting with the app yourself, you go to the grocery store, you're interacting with it yourself, you do all these things together, a lot of it will give you, at least in the short term, a lot of happiness. And that may be the impetus or the catalyst for doing something else, whether it's opening a business, finding some new friends or whatnot. And this is something to think about. This is my staycation packet. I'm going to have a good time in the suburbs reading an academic textbook on politics. I've always liked books, actually. It's not really much of a change for me. But you look at people in the United States, and we're not making anyone like Molly Ivins anymore, or Hunter S. Thompson. I just learned there was somebody before Hunter S. Thompson who was writing in the Village Voice. So the Americans have had so many interesting people, and it's just a shame that, it really doesn't seem like we're able to create the same kinds of people that we used to make, whether from Texas or anywhere else. And so it may be time to just explore. I'm not suggesting that other countries are doing any better, but, it's when countries go through political changes and power changes, and it all affects the suburbs, it all affects what you see. And one thing that will help you figure things out for yourself and just have, for your own worldview, is just to travel. And so you hear stories about refugees, there's so much right-wing propaganda, and that's understandable when it comes to certain things, but you have to be able to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense in terms of human nature. So if you see something about refugees in Canada, or complaining about not being given hotel rooms, you think to yourself, this is clearly not this is manufactured. Because again, if you go from a refugee camp and you change your circumstances and you get an upgrade, essentially, there's no way that unless something was deeply, deeply wrong with the management, in other words, the other problems are involved with the host or whatnot, that somebody would be complaining. So you have to be able to understand that aspect of human nature, and that takes time, that takes travel, and that's the education that I think, not just with language, but I think it would be really helpful for all of us as the political overall climate becomes more and more complex.